Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School of Business Exploit Masterclass, episode 8. It's always a great privilege to be here with you guys every Monday night at 8 o'clock. And it's another beautiful evening. And I believe that we are all set to learn from our facilitator this evening. All right, I want to especially welcome everyone. Please kindly send a reminder to others that we are live so that we can have as much people in tonight's session. We are live, and I mean, this evening session is one that I wish I can explain it, but I think let me give you all the experiential treatment, right, with regards to tonight's session. And this is a session that I don't want anyone to dismiss. It's a pre-festival session, right? Because our guest tonight will also be live with us physically at the SBBG Festival 2024. All right, so I want us to please let's send a message to the WhatsApp group, remind your friends, everyone that you want them to be on the platform to join us, because this evening promises to be another powerful session. All right, I sense strongly in my spirit that God wants to usher us into a season of wealth creation. All right, and over the last couple of months, the last 8 months thereabout, I've been, doing a lot of studying and researching on basically why many Christians aren't building wealthy businesses. We all seem to be so comfortable playing within the value chain. We are neither, the owners of the production part of the business, neither are we the owners of the, the final chain. We just love the, the middle part, all right, where we just serve as buyers and sellers. But the last 6 months, God has been, dealing with me and, really putting me in the path to, encourage Christians to delve into what I call deep work. All right, deep work that generates wealth in businesses, and not just playing at the surface or the peripheral level. So this evening, our facilitator, interestingly, when I sent him the message, because the day I had the insight, all right, to host this particular class on wealth creation. As a matter of fact, this month, we'll try as much as possible to focus on that aspect. I was thinking on who should I invite to the class, and I didn't want to invite someone that is too technical. I wanted someone who understands the faith perspective and the facts perspective, and I, in between that period, Mr. George Ashiru came to mind, and immediately I sent him a DM. I didn't even know he would be available. I was thinking that the timing is short, but I sent him a DM, and he acknowledged and said he will be with us. And immediately my spirit just lifted up that wow, we are set to receive some deep insights, all right, on in tonight's session. So I want to welcome everyone, especially. It's the 8th episode of the School of Business Exploit Weekly Masterclass. And I mean, it's been amazing from the first episode, second, third, fourth, the 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th. And now we have the 8th episode, all right. Without wasting more time, I would like to, introduce our guest, Mr. George Ashiru. GA, are you there? Okay. You can actually do, it can be a video.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Glad to have you here, sir.
Yes.
Welcome. We are so excited to have you here this evening. We are so excited to have you. And we can't wait to drink from your cistern, because I've been under your tutelage for quite a number of years, from my very first conference at Sweet Sensation. All right, let me just share a little bit of throwback. Mr. George Ashiru was one of my first facilitator at my very first conference. That was in 2010 when I held my first leadership conference. Mr. George Ashiru was there. It was I'm going to share the flyers, probably in the WhatsApp group. I still have the flyers. Lead Spire conference. He was one of the facilitators, and it was a very powerful session. And ever since then, he's been a part of my vision, especially with regards to raising Christian entrepreneurs. Also in 2016, when I held my first conference events for Christian entrepreneurs. We had just about 10 people. That was in 2016. Mr. George Ashiru was also there to facilitate a session, all right, at that event. And, you know, he's here with us again. And I keep telling myself that we'll keep drawing from George Ashiru, I mean, till Jesus comes, because he's one man that the world needs to hear. And on my own part, I will do my best possible to ensure that the world hears his message, especially our generation of Christian entrepreneurs. So, sir, we are so honored to have you here tonight. Every member of the Club 300 and the Small Business Big God Tribe, we are so honored to have you here tonight, sir. And we believe that this evening will be a powerful session for us all together. Mr. Joshua is a reverend, he's a pastor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, and he's also a scholar. So he's all around. So when we talk about wealth creation, just know that he's going to dish it out from the biblical perspective, the practical perspective, and the intellectual perspective. You can be sure of that, you know, and, you know, I mean, this is just a taste of what you will get at the festival. So please don't miss the festival. I beg of you, invite as many people as possible to be at that festival. It's going to be quite impactful. All right, sir, thank you very much. The floor is open. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the episode 8 of the School of Business Exploit Masterclass. We thank you for yet another beautiful session. Lord, we ask that even as we step into class tonight, we ask that the minds, the eyes of our understanding will be open to the realities of the kingdom perspective with regards to wealth creation and how God has positioned us also as Christian entrepreneurs to build businesses that generate wealth for kingdom purpose and greater cause. We thank you for our facilitator. We believe that, Lord God, it shall be of a great source of inspiration to us tonight. And every one of us shall run with the message we gleaned from him this evening towards profitability in our businesses in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. All right. Welcome, sir. Amen. We are set. Our diaries are open.
Thank you very much, my brother Daniel. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Awesome. So, yes, it's always my pleasure to be available, especially when it's kingdom work, because it's a covenant that we have to be always available to do God's work. So no matter what it is, we always find ourselves willing, able, and God facilitates the timing in such a way that we're able to deliver that which he has entrusted unto us. That's stewardship that makes us ministers of the gospel in the marketplace. So, you know, when we first charted and you were telling me about the complexities of problems and how entrepreneurs should prepare themselves to be problem solvers. And it occurred to me that the very first, what we call in engineering, first principles, the very first act of God in Genesis was to solve a problem. You see, Genesis chapter 1 tells us, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then suddenly there was a problem. What was the problem? There was darkness. Darkness upon the face of the deep. And, you know, as a result of that, God who created everything saw that that darkness was a problem, and he needed to create something else that will work with it to create the duality which makes the universe work much more efficient. And then the Bible says the Spirit of God hovered around the whole of creation, and God then declared, "Let there be light." Now, let me bring you back to a practical example of that. Some 50 years that's how old that hotel is. He stayed there and he was bitten by mosquitoes. So he said to himself, the fans here are not working. There is no form of ventilation so that I could lock up. The country I come from is cold, so we don't have malaria. We don't need fans. We don't need air conditioners because it's a cold country. So obviously, there must be something that needs to be done to make sure that when visitors come here, they can stay safely in their rooms and enjoy their stay and without mosquito bites. Anyway,
Oh, I
The
think
success of Samsung today was because the founder of Samsung, the pioneer of that family, understood as soon as he got to any place that he needed to solve a problem. So he would go straight back and then invent something that solved that problem. So we see that the foundation of wealth, the foundation of success, the foundation of, in fact, the foundation of you being a human being existing on earth is that you're useful to God to solve a problem. Because we have to ask ourselves, why did God create Adam and then established him here? It's Genesis chapter 1 from verse 26. He said, let us create man in our image. And immediately he gave him stewardship of something. He had already created that something, the earth. He had created the Garden of Eden. He had created the four rivers. He had created all kinds of animals. But there was a problem. He needed to name them. And there comes, he says, Adam, you name them because you're going to live with them. Then, he said, tend to. So if you look at Genesis chapter 2, up until verse 15, it says, tend to, tend. So that tending is work. It's a form of work. Work this garden. So it shows us that God intends that all of us on this face of the earth must tend to something. We must work at something. My brother shared something in the flyer that I saw earlier today, which was the deep work. But you see, this deep work simply means prioritization. It simply means concentration. It simply means putting emphasis on something that needs to be done, and take away everything else. In ministry, people go to the mountain just to prepare for messages. We go to meditative environment. We have what we call quiet time. Just that same thing as deep work. It just means, remove every other thing and allows you to do the work. That's what God did in the beginning. Because God wanted to create Eve, he needed concentration. He put Adam to sleep. He needed to get a perfect creature out of the perfect creation that he had made prior, and he put him to sleep so that he could make a more perfect being called that was then called Eve, a woman. So foundationally, the intention of God is that there must be wealth. There must be wealth. There must be success. There must be productivity. There must be dominion. You must take charge. And all of this, they come to the foundation that God has made. Now, when you, as a Christian entrepreneur, therefore, when you are going out there, one of the things you should pray for first is, before I establish any business, don't establish business because it's popular. Don't establish business because you want wealth. That's the way of the world. You establish business because there is a problem that God has given you a gift, a talent, a wisdom, a knowledge to solve. When the children of Israel left Goshen, they left Egypt, and they were going to the wilderness. And God said unto Pharaoh, see, let my people go so that they can worship me in the wilderness. Now they have been let go, they're in the wilderness, but they need to worship God. In the process of saying we need to worship God, they began to look for, okay, how are we going to worship God? God said, you have to build a tabernacle in the wilderness. And then, but you see, in order to build the tabernacle in the wilderness, there were some items of the tabernacle that needed to be gold. That was God's instruction. But these people are not goldsmiths. Where did they get gold from? Because of the 10 days suffering of the Egyptians, when the Israelites were leaving, the Egyptians said, come and take anything you want, just leave. Take gold, take silver, take anything, just get out of this place. Take something to survive with, because we know the reason you don't want to go is because you are slaves, you don't have anything. So we're going to give you, we're going to pay you off. The way you people pay off all your servants after they work with you for 1 year. The way you pay apprentices after they served you. That was what happened. Come and take. And it was God's plan. And when the time came, the Bible says, God then said unto Moses that this tabernacle that's going to be built, I have prepared 2 men, architect and builder, that will design and build it. So don't worry. Moses then said, well, since we have 2 people and we know the dimensions and we know the materials, we have done all the quantity surveying, we need gold for the items of the Ark of the Covenant and the golden lampsticks. And those people came forward, and the Bible says that In fact, Moses had to tell them that it's enough. I say, take it back. So you see that even at that, God had prepared a solution. So every gift you have, every talent you have, every capacity you have, every training you get is all designed to solve a problem on earth. And the reason there are problems on earth is because Christians are not applying the knowledge, the wisdom, and the inspiration of God to attack those problems, which includes political problems, by the way. So business problems, societal problems, social problems, cultural problems, spiritual problems, those are things that gifts are already existing in us as Christians. The moment you get born again and the Spirit of God comes upon you, you know, the letter to the Corinthians in chapter 12 tells us that those gifts have been poured onto you. Now, in the context of the church, we think of the church as the four corners of the world. No, the world is God's church. The entire world is God's church. That's why Jesus says, go and preach to the uttermost ends of the earth, which means the entire world. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord. That is the end goal. So for that end goal, he gives you everything you need now. But the issue is we are focused on the wealth side, but we're not focused on the problem-solving side. And so we stress out because we are applying our wisdom in the wrong direction, applying our gift in the wrong direction, applying our talents in the wrong direction, and you get what? Frustration. And then you come back and say, the pastor is not preaching right. The church is not teaching you well. No, 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 no. If you do deep work and you take your time on your own to do quiet time, to think deeply, to reflect on yourself, you will get inspiration on the... See, some people are ashamed to sell pure water. But that could be the problem that God wants you to solve that will make you wealthy. Some people don't want to be cleaners. I'm an architect. How can I be a cleaner? And God says, no, but I want you to set up a cleaning company. You started off with this cleaning company, cleaning, people's houses. One day, somebody tells you to come and clean a hotel. From there, you are cleaning complexes. Then you're cleaning massive places. But you, in your mind, looks at yourself and says, me, a cleaner. You see so many architects who have become fashion designers. And of course, we know of so many architects and engineers who are pastors. It means they finally discovered their original problem-solving area. When you look at yourself, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. If you do not have patience, if you do not have tolerance, if you cannot forbear, you don't have indomitable spirit, perseverance, if your heart is not strong, if your health is not good, if you don't have foresight, you don't have vision for the future, if everything is for now, if your emotional intelligence is weak, then you should be able to be honest with yourself and say, I don't have to be an entrepreneur, but you could be a co-visionary. You can support an entrepreneur. You can manage their resources, manage their businesses, manage their ideas, and manage their principles. You see, I consulted for an oil and gas company. And one of the things the CEO saw when he requested that I come, he said, look, my business, I turn over 226 billion, 30 billion, 40 billion in a year. But we have lost a whole lot more. Our internal systems are terrible. Our organizational processes are terrible. Our performance management is non-existent. If not that, it's oil and gas, which basically is operations. So the operations people are making money, but the management is terrible. But you see, I looked around, I looked at the CVs of everybody. Everybody has MBA, masters, so PhD. So how can you have all these well-educated people and you're not managing your company very well? So I came in, spent some time with them, and then after a while, he said, I think maybe you'll be our strategist. So I was called chief strategist. Then we created, I said, we're going to use technology to intervene in this problem. The very first job I ever did in my life, my first employment was Hewlett-Packard in the UK. And I was a sales engineer. And if you are working for one of the best, biggest, largest companies in this world, you will be trained properly. And one of the things I learned from that organizational structure for such a large behemoth was that if you do not get the foundation right, you're not going to grow to that size that they grew to. So I said to him, I said, let us use technology as this foundation to correct some of the anomalies in your system. Let's do it. So we created technologies. I became the MD of that subsidiary. So we started to create technologies, and we were deploying them, performance management technologies, technologies that were tracking people's activities, technology that was tracking HSC, so on and so forth. But there was a challenge. We discovered at the end of the day that the CEO himself has a challenge with leadership. So the processes was not the problem. The staff were not the problem, but the head himself, his gift, his talent is salesmanship. His talent is not managing people. His talent is going out there, networking, signing contracts. He should allow people who have management temperament to manage. So my answer was, I said, see, I want to implore you for the next 3 months, don't run management meeting anymore. Sit back and let your subsidiary MDs run management meetings. Sit and watch them. Listen to them. You will learn a lot about them. You will also learn, because now they are free to speak of ideas that they had that they wanted to implement, which you used to shut them down before they talk. Now he did that. And 3 months, no, it was supposed to be 1 month. 1 month became 6 months. He just lost confidence to take over again, because it was like he underestimated the level of knowledge, level of capacity, the competence that existed. So it takes me back to something that one of the greatest philosophers of our time said. Socrates mentored Plato. Plato mentored Aristotle. Plato wrote a book called The Republic. And the idea of the book was that this is how to organize a nation state, organize a system, a structure. And he said, but the nation state will not work well if the people who are meant to be leaders are managing, and the people who are meant to be managing are leading. So he divided them into 3 categories. He said, God has put in some people materials called golden materials. Those kinds of people are visionaries. Those kinds of people are pioneers. Those kind of people are apostles. They start things. Then he said the next category of people, God has put the element of silver in them, whether it's literally or not, but that's exactly how it is put. He said those people, they may not be visionaries. They may not be pioneers, but they have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the patience to help you implement your vision. He said those people are not going to be on top. They will be a second-class people. Then he said, then there are those that God puts bronze in them. He didn't use the word God. He said, because at that time, the religion was not so well established over 3,000 years ago. So he said the Creator has created in some people the material bronze. These people are workers by nature. They do not have the capacity or the desire to lead. They do not have the temperament to be in charge, but they are process people. Tell them what to do and they will do it. So if you are trying to set up a business and you have not done SWOT analysis of your own self, you do not know your strengths, you do not know your weaknesses, you do not know the opportunities of your strength and the threats that your weakness brings, and you are not even aware of your environment. You have not done a personal analysis. You don't know the impact of the political situation on your business model. You don't know whether economic situation is supporting the kind of business you want to do now, which is high-end marketing or very expensive things. At the time, people can't afford it. Are you thinking how technology is going to disrupt your business, or are you a technology pioneer yourself? Are there legal issues to the business you're trying to put up? So that's what personal analysis is. So for you to begin to create wealth, you must first know who you are. You must do a SWOT. And you must agree that if I'm going to do business, there are certain businesses I can do, certain businesses I cannot do. Now, if we make a reference to Dangote, Dangote said that I've been fighting all my life. And he still looks the same. He doesn't look stressed out. He doesn't look like somebody that they have nearly destroyed. He still looks the same Dangote. What it means is that by the nature of Dangote, he has the heart of an entrepreneur, the spirit of an entrepreneur, the critical skills, personal skills of indomitable spirit, perseverance, and focus. Those things that can drive him towards where he wants to go. Now, I know another gentleman who wanted to go to cocoa industry. He also wanted to become another type of Dangote. He was a MD of a bank. He was a chartered accountant. He decided to take money from that bank and invest in cocoa and run a cocoa business. His brother asked me to come and manage the business on their behalf. He said, no, I don't need a consultant. I don't need a consultant. I'm a banker. I'm an investor. What does it take? He needs to move money by ship. So he went and did it. He lost 60 million about 20 years. This is about 20 years ago. He lost 60 million, and that money belonged to a general, a military, retired military. So what did he do? He took a gun and shot himself. You know, it was all over the papers, put a gun in his mouth and shot himself. So he moved from the area of his expertise, moved to an area that he does not have expertise, and he made bad calls, and he paid for it with his life. So that is why, even as an entrepreneur, you must be very, very aware that you cannot create wealth in an area in which you are not inspired, blessed, and capable. You cannot. If you do not look back now to some of the things you have done in the past, some of the businesses you have established, some of the projects you have established, and realize why you didn't do well, it's probably because of pride. Because, you know, pride has a way of, we don't want to self-reflect. We don't want to take account of our failures. We will blame everybody else. We will blame the government. But in that same business, while you are blaming government, somebody is buying Rolls Royce. Because that is the area in which they have the most natural capacity. Whether it's networking, if you're very shy, networking is going to be difficult for you. It's going to be difficult. It's built for extroverts. If you're if your self-esteem is very touchy, then you shouldn't do government contracts. Because they will insult you at every step of the way. They will make you sit down and wait for 10 hours before they can even carry your file. You'll be angry all the time. You will end up fighting somebody. You know, if you do not have patience, don't be importing and exporting, especially importing. You wait for your goods to come. When they get to the port, they will mess you around in the port. When you want to clear it, wahala. When you bring it out, customs will be disturbing you. When you finally get out of their area, police will stop you along the way. Along this side, your blood pressure will be growing from 110 to 190. Why? Because that is not the business that is suitable to your personality type. So let me come back again and do a recap. Wealth creation is this successful wealth creation is connected to your personality, to your character, to your natural competence. Now, you can train the competence. You can train it. You can go for certifications. You can go for qualifications. But if you do not like blood, why would you want to be a doctor? If the sight of blood irritates you, if you do not like confrontation, why do you want to be a prosecutor? Why do you want to be a lawyer? If you are not calm by nature, why do you want to be a pilot? So those are very critical reasons why quite a lot of us are having challenges in wealth creation, even when we have the competence in terms of certification, in terms of qualification. And then building certification and qualification is also a process, because academic knowledge does not always transfer itself to become practical capacity. Quite a lot of us go to university, then we come out and realize at the end of the day that we have learned a lot of theoretical things, but the problems we are facing requires a practical understanding, what we call street knowledge, for which you may have to call somebody from the streets to become your MD, and you become the investor. So we also need to be sure that when we are establishing the seed for a business idea or a business entity, that we must be willing to bring in the right kind of partnership. You know, tech these days, you hear they're always raising funds, seed, capital, venture capital, angel investor. You know, basically it's a paradise now for investors, especially fintech, e-commerce. Biggest, fastest growing area of the world's economy is fintech. It's estimated to double all the way to 2025, the world's economy from now. And Nigeria's economy is expected to have $25 billion. You know, it'll be $50 billion, worth $25 billion now. It'll be worth $50 billion in another 15 to 20 years. So therefore, there's a lot of investments because of United Nations and World Bank's expectations that our population growth, and then the movement from analog technology to digital technology, the investment government is making, all of that is going to make a lot of investments go in that direction. But do you also know quite a lot of people in fintech are terrible managers of resources, terrible managers of money. So quite a lot of those businesses have failed for the reason that once they get a little push, that's it. They don't know how to navigate their way out of it. So the issue is there is competence, then there is experience, but most important thing is this: there's partnership. You must be able to partner with those who have the capacity to help you run your vision well. And most of us in Africa, we are always afraid somebody will steal our business. So we never like to partner. So it's taking you 5 years to achieve. It takes you 25 years because you are trying to DIY. So partnership is critical to success. The right kind of partnership is critical to success. So if you're a technical person, go and look for a financial expert to be your partner, or a management expert, or or employ a consultant to help you run the operations while you focus on the development of your technology. They will focus on the promotion, they will focus on all these other critical things. So partnership is critical to wealth creation. So don't forget, wealth creation starts with you first seeing a problem that you believe that you have the capacity to solve. The second level is that you must know whether you have both the character, the competence to be able to solve that problem, so that you don't jump into something that is not, natural to your human nature. And the third one is the right kind of partnership. Partnership between Dangote and Otedola right now is yielding fruit. Otedola is providing diesel for Dangote to be able to run his plants. You also, Geregu power station owned by Otedola also built a power station inside Dangote refinery. Dangote didn't think, oh, I'm building a refinery, I can do the power by myself. He got Otedola and said, you do the power. You do the power. So I make wealth, you make wealth, no problem. I don't have to make all the wealth by myself. But then I also don't have to stress myself with the preparation and the work. So that is proper symbiosis. Symbiosis must exist in ministry, in business, in practically any walk of life. In fact, God himself said it in the beginning, it is not good for man to be alone. So that being alone is not just about wife. It's about anything you are doing. If you look at ministry, when God calls people and sends them, he sends them out in twos. There's always two people, Paul and Silas, Paul and Barnabas, James and John. It's Peter and any one of the Silas or any one of the others. They always go out in twos. So it's an indication that you don't always have to do something by yourself. This training we are doing now, my brother Daniel Adeni could choose to do all the teaching by himself. He could choose that, look, I'm an expert, I'm a specialist, let me do everything by myself. I can teach it, I can train it, I have the knowledge, I'm a good speaker, I look good, so I'm popular. Why should I bring other people to share my platform? Yes, you could choose to do it. People we know, right, who are trainers, who train all their subject matters themselves, organize their events, everything is built around them. But when they die, the vision dies with them. The vision doesn't grow beyond the level of their revelation. So that's why that symbiosis is critical. One of the prayers you must always pray as a wealth creator is, who are the kingdom partners? Who are the business partners? Who are the private, personal, social partners? Who are your mentors? If you don't have mentors, you have a problem. You need to have people that have gone that way long before you, who will make things faster and easier for you. So do not be too prideful and thinking, I don't need advice, or be focusing on getting advice from people who are successful and rich and powerful. You do not know, you may not be able to go through the route they went through to get to where they got to, but you can learn from the experience of everybody. In fact, you can learn from somebody who failed. People who failed will tell you what they did wrong so that you will know what to avoid. So that's very critical. And I think one of the other things we should focus on, and going back to the deep work that my brother was talking about, is Success requires discipline. Success requires discipline. See, as a former athlete, I know what it means. Discipline is the difference between gold medal and bronze medal. When the coach gives you a training program, when the coach says, don't take sugar, don't take salt, drink a lot of water, sleep by 10 o'clock, make sure you get your 8 hours of sleep. Don't watch social media so that you don't get your emotion and your mental health tested. Focus, focus, focus. Dream about your victory. Think about, your performance. The idea is that will help you to narrow, to tunnel, everything that is in you towards that goal. But if you truly want to be a great businessman and wealth creator, and you don't have financial discipline, you don't have your lifestyle, you like spending anyhow, you like going out at the wrong times, you're not at your desk working, the time you should be spending ruminating on your ideas and writing out all your inspirations. You are busy watching Black Brother, Blue Brother. Yeah. All those ones that they're monotonous activities and they will waste your time. So discipline and focus are critical to wealth creation. Consistency is critical to wealth creation. These are the things that they call deep work. The capacity to go deep into one area and get the results you are looking for in that area before you let up. So you don't stop until you are able to tick and say KPI, achieved, OKR, achieved. Another thing, and that's the one I will focus on before we open the floor for question and answers. Another thing is performance management system for yourself and then for your entity. We have found through our consulting experience that the vast majority of companies that failed because they did not create a performance management system that starts from the strategy all the way to the cascading all the way to the shop floor. So before you set up a business, after you've done your feasibility studies, then you do your business plan. Then you begin to seek for funding, begin to look for partners. Then you begin to implement your project. You run the risk of jumping straight to production, jumping straight to marketing, without designing your entire strategy with a proper balanced scorecard that takes care of your finances, takes care of your sales and marketing, takes care of your internal operations, takes care of your human resources. If you do not have those 4 critical things called the balanced scorecard ready, and your vision and your core values are not very clear in your strategy statement, what you are going to then pass on to the next category of your staff is chaos. Everything will be daily basis. Everything will be daily. You can't believe that when my brother was talking to me, I just returned from Warri, from training, one of the biggest companies in this country, what billions of dollars, training their managers. And one of the things that I was surprised is that you guys are so big. You had enough money to even buy one company for $400 million, another company for $400. You even bought a Dangote business. That shows how rich you are. They're actually based in Europe, in Asia. But I was surprised that when I'm training, these managers, they'll be standing up to say, sir, I want to quickly reach the factory floor. I want to quickly get to production. Wow. I said, what the heck? You need to HR organize your training and say HR will say we did training. But you see, these people, they need them. I said, why is it that you have built your organization in such a way that systems operate around individuals? And if the individual is not available, there's a problem. They now say, do you know most of us don't have job description? It is what they tell us to do in the morning we do today. I say, what? With your MBA and they are paying you so well and you don't have job description. And they said, yeah, because the people who run this company, maybe they like it like that. They like the chaos so that they can control what happens. So performance management 0. Now, if I am consulting to their competitor That's a weakness I've seen in them that I can advise the competitor how to destroy that organization.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
So it's a massive weakness. They recognize it by doing training. By saying, let's train, but they are not implementing the results of the training, in terms of the overall architecture of the organization itself. So don't forget, when you do feasibility, when you do business planning, before you begin any form of operation, once you have your resources, you must create a performance management architecture. You must know exactly how you are going to implement your business plan. You must have clear goals, strategy, and when you cascade them down the line, each person must know precisely what they are there to do and connect it with your original vision. If they do not connect their work to the original vision, it means you are giving them day-to-day work. They are like laborers. And that is not how you build an organization and create wealth. And don't forget, I'm not talking about riches. See, wealth and riches are not the same. Riches is an aspect of wealth. Riches is the physical evidence of wealth. So when you see money, you say, oh boy, I have 1 million naira. I'm rich. That's an asset. But the process of getting that wealth and sustaining it is called wealth. The process of getting the riches and sustaining it is called wealth. So if your wealth architecture is weak, you will be rich for a season and poor the rest of your life. If your wealth architecture, which means if it's not well established, it's not foundationally established. My late grandmother, God bless her soul, used to say, as an Ijebu man, if you have not built houses, you have not succeeded on this earth. Your own house. She did not even say if you have bought house. She says if you have not bought land and built it by yourself and sweated, it means you do not know how to create wealth. You only know how to trade. The difference between buying property and building property are not the same. The process of building a property gives you knowledge about materials, knowledge about costs, about transportation, knowledge about how to pile, about where steel is, how it's going to be used, the kind of materials that will last, the ones that will not last 20 years. But if you build a ready-made house, you don't know what went on to making that house. You just see finished product. Those people who buy houses are called rich people. People who build it are called wealthy people. So make sure that you ingrain that ability to be able to build sustainable, wealth, generational wealth that and systems and structures that when you have children that grow up, they can plug and play. They will just come in. You have created a structure, a system, and that system, anybody can plug and play. You can rest, you can relax, you can go on holiday after just 10 years of doing business, and your business will run successfully because you have created an architecture. That's performance management. That's why it's important to have a good performance management system. The moment you have a good performance management system, everything else falls into place. So thank you very much. Let me stop there.
Oh my goodness, that was a masterclass. Wow. I believe everyone, I mean, I'm sure everyone here will be recalibrating their entire business project. We're not yet done. We're just starting. So please just send a reminder to others to please join tonight's class, because Dr. Ashiru has just given us a surface in-depth teaching on let me say the theoretical aspect, right? And I really want us to delve into I won't call it spiritual, but I want us to delve into the not kingdom. How do I put the word? Yeah, let me use the word kingdom aspect. And everyone can ask your questions, but I'm going to start by asking a few questions first, because I really want us to go deeper based on my observation, and because everything you have said is true, sir. Practically true. I mean, even in our own personal business too is practically true. But I know that there is a fundamental part, especially with we Christian entrepreneurs, that we often do not address, because like what you've shared to us now in a couple of minutes is, what is expected generally from every entrepreneur. But I want us to delve into some deeper aspect, So I wrote some questions here, and I'm sure that when I ask that question, I will take you to your other aspect, which is the reverend side that many people will see this evening. And I really want us to go there, because I'm so passionate about Christians building wealth, not just, riches, like you said rightly, not just riches, like you said, but building wealth. And it's something that I believe that everyone here, needs to learn and hear from your own perspective. All right. So the first question I have here is a question, but I also use a description around it. Now, we know that the world is controlled by the Babylonian economy. That is a given fact. When you look at the top 100 billionaires, they practice the Babylonian law, talk about capitalism and those other things, and as a Christian, you find that a lot of believers, it might not be a conscious thing that we do, but subconsciously we find it very difficult to find the balance in building wealth in a Babylonian economy. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to drive at, sir. And you mentioned something during the discussion. You mentioned wealth architecture. So my question basically is, as a believer, how can I build a billion-dollar business as a Christian, designing a wealth architecture in a Babylonian economy and still retain my faith? But let me put it in a very simple way. How can I be a billionaire Christian and still make heaven? Let me use this simple term. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
It's not actually a big problem. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So the devil, that's why everything occultic is secret. Because they know that the moment everybody has that knowledge, then it's competitive, then it's open field. But the Bible itself has given us the pathway. Thank God you mentioned Babylon. But in the Bible, does it not tell us a lot about who are the most successful people in Babylon in that time? Who are they? The people that were most successful in Babylon, who were they? The three Hebrew boys. Hebrew boys. They were outstanding. And then you had Daniel, who had an excellent spirit, who prayed often and had power. And Daniel became president in Babylon. President. The Bible calls him president in Babylon. So have we thought about Joseph? Pharaoh mentioned Joseph. Pharaoh said concerning Joseph, Pharaoh said, is there a man who has a spirit of God such as Joseph? That is the Babylonian. Isn't that the Babylonian system acknowledging the power and the spirit of God in Joseph? And it is in that acknowledgement that Joseph was appointed as a prime minister. See, the Babylonian system is forever looking for a Christian that has not just the knowledge, but the power to unlock things that they can never be able to do. I am a Christian who has operated. I've operated in a political world. I've operated in the business world. I have confronted evil. I have confronted the Babylonian system that you're talking about. And one thing I realize is this. The reason why a lot of Christians are not able to operate in those systems successfully is because as soon as they go into that system, they try to be like that system.
Yeah.
So there is an osmosis. You go there, you diffuse, you play the game. You say that is how it is. So instead, you go into that system clear. In Bukwan Woshika said something 22 years ago that I will not forget. He said, when I started my business, every time I carry proposal, they will tell me to bring bribe. I will say no. They will look at me and smile, and they will do others and say no. So she will go back to her office, to call her staff, they will do communion, and they will pray. And those people that refuse because she did not compromise will come back because whoever they gave it to will fail. They will not come back and say, please help us do it. And that is how she has become an example of what we're asking for, a Christian billionaire. A Christian billionaire. We know somebody called what's her name? The owner of Hampa Oil, Alakija. She's a pastor. She's the richest woman in Africa. All she had was favor. Favor with the government that signed a paper for her to be able to, to get an oil well.
Oh, well, yes.
But do you know what she was doing? She was only selling clothes to the president's wife. She was the president of Fashion Designers Association of Nigeria, and the then president's wife was her customer. And when they were talking about this new oil business, be the good businesswoman and an Ijebu woman, her mind was, First Lady, is this something we can do? You want, you can apply. And she called her husband, and they did it, and the rest is history. So the truth is, again, it's because most of the time, once we engage ourselves with the, in quote, the Babylonian system, we tend to forget where we come from. There are quite a lot of people have complained that the moment Christians get into power, they seem to, in quote, lose their Christianity. Again, that's one of the challenges as businessmen. We tend, you see, I'm looking for a businessman that will go into Alausa to sign a contract, and the moment they start saying this and that, you say, no, I'm not here, I cannot sign that, I will not agree. This is the way, if it's not like that, I will not agree. I have had a commissioner one day told me with his own mouth, he said, the reason we can't work with you in my state is because you are not a member of our court.
Wow.
Clearly.
Wow.
He now said, however, what you are here for, I have to give it to somebody else, but I'm ready to pay you for your efforts.
Wow.
Now, any in quotes, who does not have conviction of his calling will follow that man and collect that money. Entered my car, I drove out of that state to Lagos, and I didn't go back for 4 years. 4 years later, the same exact thing I was looking for, they called me, another government, they called me to come and take it. They used their money and their work, their wahala to get it. And at the end of the day, they propelled me to the national stage.
Wow.
Where I ended up meeting President of Nigeria.
Wow.
All I needed to do was just say no and then waited for God's time.
Wow.
So I think what is really wrong, I think what's really, an issue with all of us. I'll give an example. You know that I'm a chairman of a political party.
Yes, sir.
During the elections, I was called by the ruling party, and they offered dangled all kinds of things. I said, no, me and my governorship candidate, we are here to represent what is right and what is true. And we went out there and we kept hammering, knowing fully well the people would not vote for that kind of situation. But you see, we were there as ambassadors of Christ. We saw it as an opportunity to get into that marketplace instead of complaining, to see how we can transform it from inside. And I'm glad to say that there is a majority of people that were involved were Christians. So the marketplace and the Babylonian economy will, you see, everything in life is like a scale system. If there's not enough good, evil will rule. But if there's enough good, evil will dissipate. The question for us is this: how many Christians are ready to play by the rules? How many Christians are ready to put their conviction in their work? How many Christians are going to be consistent with biblical principles in their businesses? As long as we do all of that, then that's the scale that we pack on top of each other until over time, we take over the earth. Now, you can't do this without the Holy Spirit. You cannot run your business in a Babylonian, in quote, economy without the power of the Holy Spirit. You see, the Bible says, I am the Lord that giveth thee power to succeed, isn't it? He giveth thee power to succeed, which means if you do not have power, you will not succeed. But what did Jesus tell his disciples in the book of Acts? He says, tarry in the city until you are endued with power. Then you can go and do the assignment I gave you. So without spiritual power, you cannot face a Babylonian system. You cannot be a Christian by profession, not backed by spiritual power. See, I'll give you an example again. And I think I mentioned it the last time you brought me on one of your platforms. I went to an agency of government and I complained to the general manager of that agency that you people are not doing what is right. Especially you are discriminating against Christians. And this man was a Christian. And he said, we are government. Whatever we decide, if you people don't fall in line, we'll do this, we'll do that. I said, no problem. I said, sir, All I can tell you is these Christians will not vote for a governor in the next election, and you will lose. And I'm decreeing it as a fellow, as a prophecy. The moment he heard prophecy, the Christian in him, he now held my hand and said, no, please, take back your word. Take it. I said, but you're a general manager now. You're working for a governor. You shouldn't be afraid of me. No. Take back what you said. I said, I'm not taking it back. He now forced me to organize a meeting. With Christian Association of Nigeria and PFN. I had to organize a meeting. He now sent an emissary to go and beg Christians that please. That night, the governor sent a message to him. You want me to lose the election? You are fighting Christians. Just from that statement. Just that one statement I made. The man now went to the laptop to send to me as a seed. So not only did I solve a problem for the church, I got a reward by God. And the woman he sent to go and speak to PFN was a Muslim. She got converted to Christ after that.
Wow.
So you can see that we can't practice, and all because the man saw there was a conviction in the word that I said to him. There was conviction behind the things that I said to him. I said, this is what I want to do. When I was in Abuja 20 years ago, some people came and said, federal government wants to organize this. We are going to make sure it rains. We will scatter it if government doesn't give us 20 million. And I was invited. And I said, why should they give them 20 million? God is the owner of the heavens and the earth and the floor. So why should the government be paying herbalists so that it will not rain? You know, when they say they want to organize wedding, they will tell you that we'll make it rain unless you pay us so that the rain will not fall. That was what they were doing with federal government. I gathered a couple of people and we started to pray, and we could see lightning and thunder. We could see everywhere and the president of Nigeria was inside the place. It did not rain that day. Because we stood in the gap. We stood in the gap. It did not rain that day. In fact, my testimony was printed inside the Bible. 30,000 Bibles were distributed by Bible Society of Nigeria with the testimony inside, with my picture inside Bible. So I'm basically saying, look, it's something we have faced. We faced Babylonian system every day. But we succeed because we go and face them with power, with the power of God's Spirit. Don't go there with intellect. Don't go there with the network. Don't go there with a plea bargain. Go there as an ambassador of God. The moment you go as an ambassador of God, they will know. They will see it. I went for an interview on television 1 month ago or 3 weeks ago. During the time of the protests, they invited me to come and talk about the protests. As soon as I finished, as I was walking out, the producer ran after me. I said, are you a pastor? I said, what do you mean? You invited me to come and be a political analyst. Why you say? He said, there's something about you. I said, hallelujah. What does that tell you? In the Bible? When you come as an ambassador, they know.
They know. They know.
They recognize. So what we need to do is step into our offices. We should not separate the church and our business. We should not separate God's call and God's work and our investments. We tally it. Nobody will touch your work once they know God is involved in your life. Nobody will touch your business once they know God is involved in that business. And I think the challenge with us is that we get intellectual when it comes to business. Then we go to church on Sundays and we compartmentalize our faith. I think, in my opinion, I do not subscribe to the idea that there's a Babylonian economy. It's just another type of economy. It's just another. They may control billions. And like I told you, what are we after? Are we after wealth? Are we after riches? So the fact that they control billions doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we should be chasing. But if God will multiply himself based on his need and his use for our wealth. So if you need $1 billion, God will create $1 billion worth of wealth for you. If you need just $10,000, God will also give you $10,000. That's the difference between us and those who are chasing riches. Those who are chasing riches, their own KPI is $1 billion by 20 years, $10 billion by 20 years. They will steal, they will kill, they will destroy to get there. That is their own goal. That's not our goal. Don't forget what I said at first. What is the problem that God is establishing you to solve? As long as you stick to that problem, you are going to get wealth in return. Isaac Newton's first law of motion, nothing changes except a power or a great force is applied to it to cause a change in that state. So there is nothing you are going to be able to change without power. There must be something in you that makes it possible for you to displace something from where it is, and take over that place. So I think most of the challenges we have as Christians is that we intellectualize our businesses, and then we spiritualize things that we should intellectualize. So the so-called economy, the Bible has given us very clear examples. Joseph was working in such an environment and he succeeded. Abraham, Abimelech blessed him. Isaac, Abimelech blessed him. Daniel became a great person in a nation. In fact, God told Jeremiah, he said, tell the nation of Israel while they're in Babylon. He said, I'll leave them there for 70 years. Those 70 years, let them succeed. Let them build houses. Let them have children. That is a Babylonian economy. And God told Israel to prosper inside of it. Told Israel to prosper within the Babylonian economy under Nebuchadnezzar. So I think our challenge is that, again, is part of it is lack of wisdom, lack of knowledge, lack of revelation, or lack of faith. And that's the reason why you are having programs like this. Increase our faith, increase our knowledge, increase our capacity. And then over time, we're able to penetrate whenever we are going, knowing full well that we're backed by the power of God. He gave us power to succeed. Don't forget.
Yes, sir. Wow, thank you so much. I mean, I wish you could go on and on and on. See, I want to admonish everyone. Please don't miss the festival. I told you all that the festival is not an intellectual session. It is an impartation event. I mean, because everything you said, one thing I held so closely is the fact that, when you went to the TV station, the director ran after you and you mentioned that, yes, the Babylonian economy, they sense it, not just in the physical, but even the spiritual. They know a Christian entrepreneur that has spent time praying and generating some spiritual energy. And, these are things that we meet every day, especially if you want to build a multi-billionaire business. You would surely meet those people. It is utterly impossible. Wow, that is very, very profound. And we have a question from Regina. But before she asks the question, let me just have one more question I want to ask, which I think is also very, very important and is based on our discussion. Now, I've done a couple of studies, and sir, I always share about Christians in the 18th century, how they were able to create, revolutionize the industrial era, the likes of John Cadbury, the man who founded Cadbury Beverage, the likes of Henry Crowell, I think, or Powell, the founder of Quaker Oats. And the question I want to ask is, how can our generation of Christians, not just in the Nigerian economy now, but globally, how can we begin to, build businesses that influence culture? What do I mean by that? Now, if you look at 30 years ago, there was nothing like smartphones. But someone invented the smartphone. Someone brought about the smartphones. About 30 years ago, there was nothing much like social media like we have now, but someone invented it. And these inventions has changed the culture, the cultural dynamics of the world, and not just even technology. As at 40 years ago, we had nothing like Indomie noodles. But someone came in, brought about Indomie noodles, a small pack with sachet and everything, and that changed our eating culture. That changed our dynamics as a society. So how can we Christians begin to tap into the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, like the days of Bezalel, where God gave him the spirit to craft, a spirit for workmanship and craft in the Bible? How can we tap into that and begin to create businesses that, influences culture? Not just business about trading or buying and selling, but bringing about products that solve human problems and influence culture by doing that. How can we Christians achieve that, in our generation? Yes, sir.
So think about it. All these innovations we're talking about, almost all the critical scientific innovations were made by Christians. The world's first university, Oxford, the world's first university, Oxford. The world's second oldest university, Cambridge. The two of them were Bible schools, and they're over 1,000 years old. They were initially meant to be seminaries, and then they started to expand. They started to expand and add and add and add and add until it became what we now call a multi-polytechnic, a multi-subject. So for over 1,000 years, Christians have been changing the world. But the issue is this: Christianity came to us in Nigeria just about 100 years plus. And when we think of Christianity, we think of it as a means to an end. The average Christian in Africa sees Christianity as a means to an end. That it, just like going to Babala, we'll go to this, okay, now it's Christianity. So we go to this pastor, they will lay hand on us, then we'll get breakthrough. The same thing we were doing with our forefathers. The same we are doing in the villages. A lot of this Christianity in Africa is 10 miles wide, 1 inch deep. We have not yet built cultural understanding of the true heart of Christianity. Once we get that cultural, where 2-3 generations of our children don't even know anything about our old culture, then they will learn to live purely by faith. The Bible says the just shall live by faith. See, at that point, every night when you sleep, every morning when you wake up, inspiration will be flying in your head.
Yeah.
Like you are always iterating something. Every time, it's like you are restless. You are always coming up with a new idea, new business idea, new thoughts, new program, new this, new that. That's innovation. That's because you give yourself to it. You allow it to fall. You allow it to like, just like any rema anybody gets. You allow it to fill you up, and then through your passion, you are able to go and implement it. Do you know quite a lot of us close our hearts and close our minds into inspiration? And when we do get it, we just say, oh, it's not a good idea. Let me just leave it. And then we do not teach ourselves the practice of constantly and consistently honing that inspiration until it becomes a force for good. So innovation comes from spirit. When they say inspiration, it means the spirit. It means in spirit. That's the meaning of the word inspiration is a spiritual word. It means in spirit, inspired from inside. Spirit built up. But we do not listen to our spirit most of the time. Most of us have yet to be led by the Spirit. Because when we are led by the Spirit will usually lead us to the place of wisdom, of vision, of innovation, especially if you're in business. Now, the question you asked more specifically is that how do we bring it back?
Yes, sir.
It now goes back to what I said earlier. See your business as a ministry. And in your quiet time, in your meditation, keep looking at the problems you can solve. That in your heart, it is a heart of God that is pushing you in that direction, not the heart of riches. Then the kind of ideas you receive, once you are in that state, note them down. Note them down. Having noted them down, then seek counsel from somebody who is wiser and older than you, or is a mentor who has been through this sort of journeys. They will look at what you have jotted down, and from there, they can decipher the direction you should go, and they will be able to tell you. From what I'm seeing you do, all these things I'm seeing you do, I can see, it seems to me that this is what you're supposed to be. Now, like you, Daniel, you started doing seminars and conferences, you just wanted to impart people. But in the process of impartation, you were not sure whether God was telling you to go and be a church founder,
yes,
or to be a leader of people. You were not sure. But in order to be safe, you said, okay, let me just do God's work first. So at least God will know that. But you looked at yourself later and you said, no, this impartation is supposed to be open. It's supposed to be free. It's supposed to be filling society practically in a marketplace. And that's what you're doing more of now. But I have a brother who Segun Awolowo. It's the other way around. He was doing business and he would take out of it and would set up a library and help people. He would do business, take out of it. But over time, God now said, go and do ministry.
Wow.
That is where your heart is.
Wow.
So he now went into ministry. So both of you had opposite directions.
Wow.
That is you realizing by inspiration the area you should go. So now you are innovating. Last time you shared your testimony with me, you are telling me about how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are under the influence of, what God is making you do right now compared to what you were doing before.
Yes, sir.
It's an indication that, yes, you listen to the Spirit, you innovated, and you are seeing the evidence of it there. And same thing with my brother and so many other people accordingly. So my suggestion is people should listen more to the Spirit of God inside of them. And they should not be afraid, no matter how odd, how unusual that thing is in their spirit, they should not be afraid to exploit. The only thing I'm going to say is, when I say explore, doesn't mean go straight to and start. Get counsel. Get advice. People should talk to you and people like yourselves and say, look, this is what I'm feeling in my spirit. And I'm bouncing it off you. I want to know whether it's God's will. Out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a revelation is established. So I think that's what we need to do more, because there was never a time innovation was not available. There was never a time inspiration was not available. What has happened to us is that we have delegated it to the world. We have delegated it to the world. We've allowed them to be the ones to be doing what we are moved in the spirit to do. And I think we need to change that. And we need to be a little bit more of spiritual risk takers. Jesus walked on water. He didn't say in advance that I'm going to show you people that I'm Jesus, I walk on water. He needed to go straight on top of the water and started walking. That's a risk taking, isn't it? So sometimes we need to take, in fact, every scientist that has ever developed any form of technology, they started taking risks. They must have failed 1,000 times before the rest of the world is seeing today. The man who developed electricity must have been shocked 1,000 times before he got the voltage right. He must have been shocked. He must have had electrocution in his factory before he was able to understand this 240 volts, this 120 volts, and this is how I step it down, this is how I make it possible, this is how I protect, this is how I isolate it. He must have gone through it, but he took that risk. And if you ask, let me even tell you the word that's shocking the most. Who is the most famous scientist in our history? Not even in recent history. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said, after all this knowledge of the expanse of the universe and God, the expanse of the universe and creation, all of this is vanity if there is no creator called God. Wow. So essentially indicating that even what he is doing and all of the various inventions coming out of him, E is equal to MC squared, the theory of relativity, he indirectly saying it's God that gave him that inspiration. That was why he was not happy that his inspiration led to the development of the atomic bomb. Atomic bomb, yes. He was very unhappy. Anybody will see this true story, both his story as well as, and the other people that came after them. Yeah. So, my brother, I think we are in a place now where that innovation is shouting. Let us start doing it.
Yes, please, everyone. I hope you guys have heard. I'm so happy that our generation is really on fire, and we are seeing the light in the broad perspective of the gospel. We are seeing Christianity in a broader perspective. I always tell people, someone asked me a question, about small business, big God. That's the other arm. And I said, small business, big God is a ministry. And the person was like, what do you mean by ministry? I said, don't worry, you will understand very soon. But it's a ministry. It's a ministry. It's not just a business platform. It's a ministry. All right, Regina, are you there? Let's have a question quickly. And we are almost out of time, just about 10 more minutes thereabouts.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome, Regina.
I'm really Thank you, sir. Sir, okay, so this is my question. Let me start from the last point you gave in the aspect of innovation and solving problem. How do we move the inspiration we get? So Pastor Daniel has his own, and then I also, okay, so let me make some confession. I started my first business as a soup seller far back 2008. And then I struggle with it because I've not been able to move it beyond me. So I dropped that business. I started another business, which was a meat business. Then when I started my business, the only person a female doing meat business was the lady butcher. She was the only, and it was also within 2008 and 2009. My business my meat business crashed when Fashola came up with the first rule of no Okada being banned, because that was the form I was using to distribute meat to people in their estates when I shared the meat. And then the business crashed. And then I struggled. Now, I didn't study business, I studied education. But one thing I've realized about myself is for every business idea God gives to me, because I generate business. As I'm talking to you, I have one that is new in Nigeria that I've discussed with Pastor Daniel. But I'm still having struggle of how to move it beyond me. All the business idea God has given to me, I always see people come as a crowd into it, because I know Nigerians, when they say, recharge card business is the boom. Now everybody's doing recharge card. But I would have gotten the business minimum years of 5 years. When I was in school, the business I was doing was to produce beans flour. That was far back 2004. And then I could not move it beyond me. So, sir, with what you've just explained, that is innovation. And that it comes from me. When I see a problem, when I find myself in a new environment, I spot problem easily and I want to help solve solution. But the challenge has been me moving it beyond me. I struggle, I try my best, I read books, I attend seminars, but I don't know how to move it beyond me. That is number one. So I want you to help in that aspect. How do I pull the managerial? I don't know, because most times it's a small business. I don't even have capital. It's either I'm borrowing money to start or some little change I have with me. Then when I was doing meat business, I didn't have capital. When I go there, because of integrity, which is one thing I have with people, they will give me those produce at based on integrity, and then I'll refund. But I had bankers who were my friends. I was also doing palm oil business, good palm oil, but I couldn't move it. So I've done series of businesses. So I said, okay, maybe I'm not a business person. Let me go into working. And then that one too, when I get into the organization, I kind of want to take over the business from the owner, in the sense that I'll just keep generating ideas for the owner, and then the responsibility, yes, they will push it to me. Then my hands will now be full, and then I'm looking for. So it's a whole lot of struggle for me. That is number one question. So, sir, I don't know if you want to answer that question before I move to the second question,
You took a
or
long
I
time.
should just
You took a long time to explain it so that I can understand it. So it's probably best to just address it.
Okay, sir.
I think the key thing with you is that you're one of those people that you are mentally hyperactive. You know, I was a bit like that. I'm mentally hyperactive, always coming up with ideas, always wanting to do everything simultaneously, and not focusing. And so you might discover that you may need to go and do some research on the deep work that Pastor Daniel was sharing, to allow you to concentrate your energy and your creative force in one critical area that will have the best competence and passion. That's number one. Number two, you obviously need quite a lot of mentoring. I think quite a lot of things you were doing in the past, you are doing them by yourself. If you had a business mentor like you now have, Daniel, if you had a business mentor, if you had partnership, in short, partnership doesn't necessarily mean an investment, but at least somebody who was invested in your success and who was there holding your hand, I think you might have gone a lot faster in some of those things you had. If you look at the supply chain issues we are discussing when you were talking about distributing your goods, a lot of people face it just like you, but I'm very sure some people survived it.
Yes.
I'm sure some people survived it. Some people just, went about looking for another way to do it, maybe using bicycle. Like nowadays, it's because fuel scarcity, Chowdeck is now using bicycle to distribute food and items, something that nobody thought about before. Because there's a problem, you look for a way to solve that problem. And that's one of the reasons why business innovation, you need the various types of in your business. So that is what I would suggest for now, that you trying to do different kinds of things. Find the one that you know you really have the passion and the competence for. Then find a mentor. Maybe even before you start it, find a mentor who has experience in management, experience in business, experience as an entrepreneur, who will be able to push you in this direction. See, issue of money should not come first. A great innovator cannot think, let me first find the money, then I will do well in business. The thing is that you will not manage the money well if you don't have a good plan. If you don't have a good system, have a good structure, you will still have a problem with the money. You will invest in the wrong things. You will buy too much of one product, too little of another product. You will end up not succeeding, not making profit, not making good revenue. So the sum total of what you need is you need a business advisor. You need a business advisor. Whether the business advisor can come in the form of a mentor, whether it can come in form of a partner, but just start, keep it, and talk to Daniel about how that kind of relationship can be created. It could even be between members of this organization, partnering together. You come with your talent, I come with my talent. Let's see how this works. And then I'm sure that you'll be able to succeed in that direction. That one, I'm very sure, if you had somebody who was holding your hand, who was able to help you funnel your energy into one of those things you are doing, and then provide you the link for the support you need to make it happen. I've seen so many young entrepreneurs doing it, and I've assisted them also in that sort of thing. So I know for a fact that it's mentorship that you need the most. Once you get a business advisor, you'll be able to have a better focus. The talent you have is great. You just need somebody to help you to funnel it, bring it together, and funnel it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Wow, thank you so much.
Okay. So my second question.
Okay, all
my
right.
second question, sir, because you've shared from the spiritual aspects. I follow Ibukwa Wushika, and then my value system also aligns with her. That's why I follow her and I listen to most of her messages. I know this seems to be a very, very personal question, but I know you are far from me. I would have kidnapped you to be my mentor, because I really need help. But sir, since that has not been established, can you please share with us how you run your day when you wake up in the morning till you rest in the evening? How you bring in God? How you learn more skill? How you now then solve problem for people? Because I know it's in the problem you make money. So sir, how do you, the spiritual, the mental, how do you flow it? Because sometimes, maybe because I'm a mother, I'm just still, my baby is still a toddler, and the other one is just getting out of being a toddler. So I still struggle as motherhood, and then I need to, I need to still maintain the businesses and then the ideas, because sometimes these ideas make me feel sick that I'm not doing anything. So, sir, how do you run your day?
Well, for me to answer you very honestly, I have to go back to when I was probably your age group, which is because now you are talking to me as someone who has had decades of try and success and try and failure and so many different things. So you reach a level of what we call optimum professional capacity. It means now I can do more things now with the least effort, simply because I've had decades of learning it. I'll give you an example. When I was in Warri, I spent a week training managers of this organization. While I was training them, another organization, an international organization, called me and said they wanted me to speak to some professors for 45 minutes, unprepared. They just come and say, sir, there's a Professor Morofolu who's supposed to give a lecture. It's not available. And we have 20 lecturers, doctors, and professors here. I'm not a professor. I don't lecture at university, but they have acknowledged, that over the decades, I've built up a body of knowledge from practice and study. And so they asked me to speak to them. So, and then the first thing was there was no protocol. They didn't organize it very well. So it was just the WhatsApp, they used to call me. They just put microphone on the phone and say I should start talking. 45 minutes. These people were in a retreat. So I spoke for 45 minutes ex cathedra, which means I spoke from memory. And you are speaking to people that are researchers and professors. So when you are speaking from memory, you know, they are actually I'm talking nonsense. So, but as soon as I was done, and guess what? It was just tea break. It was during the tea break for the people I was teaching. I said, let's just go on tea break. I went to an office. I used the tea break to lecture another group. And then I got a call to say, please give us your account. We need to thank you for what you have done. You see how you can passively make money because of years of built up competence. People will call you and just say, solve a problem, but it takes years. But the most important thing is what I said earlier. You need focus. You need to be determined to build that skill. So when you have too many ideas, the problem you will face is that you will not put the required attention to developing each part of the skill sets required to be a professional in that area. You do a little bit, you drop it. You do a little bit, you drop it. You become a master of many things. Well, you become a jack of many things, a master of none. In my profession, consulting, one of the things that you are required to do in order to maintain your professional certifications is you must do minimum of 80 hours a year of continued professional development, either training, courses, seminars. You must show evidence that you are constantly learning. You must show evidence. So whether I like it or not, I have to organize my life structure in such a way that I can achieve it. I mean, let me tell you something interesting. 2 years ago, during the elections, because you're asking me how I manage so many different things. I was a chairman of a political party. I was a candidate for election in Lagos East Senatorial District. I was doing my second master's in theology degree. I was doing a master's in management degree from a British university the same year. The same year. I was campaigning. I was running a party. As I'm talking to you now, Daniel, I got a message just now that they want me on TV tomorrow, 7 a.m. New Central.
Wow.
Just please, can you come? They said they'll send car and everything. So what I'm saying is you will develop competence over many years, but you have to take the time to develop each part of the things that God has blessed you with. You cannot afford to start one, and once you get a pushback, you stop it. You start another one, you get pushback, you stop it. That's the spiritual side of it. You know, Goliath represents 5 Philistine cities.
Wow.
You know, Gaza, Ekron, I think, well, I remember the 5. Those 5 cities, each of those cities represent a stronghold. One is pride, one is a stronghold, one is wandering, one is inconsistency. If you look at the meaning of those 5 cities of the Philistines, they each represent one vice. Now, the one that is called wandering, which I think is Gaza also, it means you will not be stabilized in any one thing. It will just make you be trying many different things and never stopping on any and starting. So one of the prayers we pray for ourselves in life is, Lord, establish me. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10, it says, after you have suffered for a while, then I will do what? After you have suffered for a while, he said, I will collect you, I will establish you, I will strengthen you, and I will settle you. That word establishment means settle means you are now sitting on one area, God can then bless you. So my advice to you is learn about deep work, learn about how to be consistent with any one thing you're doing, how to be sure the one you are doing is what God wants you to do, not necessarily what you think people are doing, so let me do it. And then you said something, you said you will innovate something and other people will come. That's exactly how you know it's God. God is the business of multiplying. So for that shows that there was a problem you saw. Maybe all God wanted you to do was be an apostle of that business. And then, you move on to other business. But the key thing is this: you should get benefits for everything that you have established. So it will still come down to discipline, focus, and consistency. The first issue was you need a mentor. You need somebody to guide you. That mentor will also help you to be consistent in any one thing you do. So your daily activity schedule should not matter. It should not matter. The most important thing is you know the one thing you want to do in your 24 hours. You know how to prioritize them. You do a Pareto, number 1, number 2, number 3. What's the most critical thing for me? I need to spend 6 hours with my child. What's the next most important thing for me? I need to make sure I spend another 6 hours on my business. Then I need to make sure that I take time from the rest of my family. And then the rest of it is my time on my own to sleep and to commune with God. That's it. But you see, your child will grow. You will not need to spend 6 hours on a daily basis with that child in another few years. So you have to be able to iterate and to change and to grow as is required. I cannot put you under a burden right now to be able to say, you must do this, you must do that. That is the thing. Just let the Spirit of God lead you.
Yes, sir.
Just let the Spirit of God lead you. You'll be surprised where God will lead you. Don't be dogmatic about it. So when I wake up in the morning, some days I wake up and I don't feel like going out. Some days I wake up, I'm like just jumping. No 2 days are exactly the same. But one thing that I know I have grace for is this: I can multitask, which means I can study simultaneously. I can be doing a meeting and I can be doing a full MBA course simultaneously. They say that God has divided my brain in such a way that it can assimilate.
Wow.
Question. You mentioned the SWOT analysis. You mentioned the SWOT analysis. How do I carry out that SWOT analysis on myself to know where I bring in partners, to know how do I do a SWOT analysis? Because like the way you were explaining the SWOT analysis, it sounded like you have to be a big company like that. But I'm an entrepreneur. I'm just starting a new business. I've not even made a profit, but I see a whole lot. Okay, so the business I just started right now is what is already happening out there in the world. I'm in the educational world, but I see a struggle. I realize that an average graduate in Nigeria comes out studying something else and then later becoming something else. So that was where I got this idea 7 years ago. And then, so what am I trying to do? To pick up secondary school students, expose them to internship, expose them to different trainings of self-awareness, so that before they get into the university, they'll be sure that, okay, I want to study accounting, and this accounting, I'm not just going to study it, but it's out of passion, out of what I will enjoy doing, and then I want to solve problem with it. So that is the business I just started. So
Focus on those specifics. The way you present these issues tells me that you need some counseling on structuring ideas and methods. A SWOT analysis is done ever before you start your business. SWOT analysis is done to know whether or not you will succeed in that business. So you don't start it first and then begin to analyze after why I failed. So a SWOT analysis is not a difficult thing. It's something that I'm surprised that in Nigeria it's not taught in secondary school. By now, everybody in this country should know a SWOT analysis as something they fall back on every single time they want to do something and ask themselves, can I do it? So it's just a measure of your strengths as an individual, the weaknesses you have noticed or somebody has noticed about you, and then the opportunities you have because of your strengths, and then the threats to your success because of your weaknesses. That's just it. And there are the templates available online. If you Google SWOT, you will get it. You can download it as a doc file and just write straight on it. And then you take it to somebody who knows you well. What do you think are my strengths? Yeah, they will tell you. Different people will tell you. And you'll be surprised when you sit down to look at the full analysis of the results. You will now say, no wonder I can't do that business. All the weaknesses I can see is an evidence of why I can't do that business. You know, I'm not like those traders in Alaba. I'm not like those hustlers in Moshi. I cannot do this, I cannot do that. So you begin to see and say, okay, I can see why. But that's a reflective practice. SWOT analysis is a reflective practice. It means it makes you reflect on who you are and what you are. And you should do it before you even do anything, any business, even in sports. We use it in sports. You know, we do a sport analysis to know which athletes fits which sport better. So that you look at yourself, you're short, you want to be a sprinter. You know, most sprinters are 6'2", 6'3", 6'5". Why does a 5'6" person want to do sprinting? You know, just because you love it doesn't mean it's fitting. That's what a sport analysis does. It helps you know where your real strengths are so that your energy goes there first before you do any other thing. So that's it. And then the PESTLE analysis, P-E-S-T, just like motor PESTLE, is studying what environment affects, how the environment affects your business ideas, how the environment affects. You just mentioned that one governor now came up with a policy. That's the P in PESTLE, political activity, how it affects your businesses. And a good business person must follow government policies well. You must read up the newspapers, you must know where they are thinking so that you are already thinking ahead. And it looks as if they want to change some things. So what am I going to do? You begin to talk to your partners, talk to your mentors, and they come up with a plan B, plan C, plan D. So you will never be caught out. That's one of the reasons why anybody doing business, you just have to be aware. Be aware of the environment, be aware of yourself, and then, you know, be dogged about it. And then you'll get there.
Yeah, because of time, thank you so much. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. For Regina, interestingly, the personal strategy business was what I actually wanted to, you know, run for Club 3, because we have two clubs. We have the Small Business Big God, which is free. Then we have the Club 300, which I consult to every member within the club structure. You know, and this morning I was just designing what I call a business blueprint, because you can't be running aloof in your business. You need to have like a picture of your business from a surface level. You know, and I was just designing this morning, not knowing that that's part of the discussion that you'll bring up, you know, later in our discussion this evening. So all Club 300 members, don't worry, we are still going to have a private session with Reverend. I'll organize that sometime in the future, but it will be private, strictly for Club 300 members, so we can have more strategic discussions, because I know a lot of them actually fall in this category. And one of the reasons why I even stopped consulting for large organizations to focus on Christian entrepreneurs is because I noticed that there is a gap, a very huge gap, because we are very faith-driven people, and we over spiritualize our spiritual life, but we over secularize some other aspect of our life. So there's no balance. And one of the reasons why I created the Club 300 Club is to be able to help Christian entrepreneurs design a proper model for their business. So when you wake up in the morning, you know what you're doing, you know what you want to achieve, you know how your business runs. I mean, you can explain your business in 5 minutes from start to finish. You know, from when customer order to when you finally deliver the product, you can explain the entire flow. So that's part of the reason why, you know, we started Club 300, so that I can help each of them one-on-one to redesign their business framework. So for all Club 300 members, we'll still have Reverend in a private session. I will announce to you when that will hold, and then we'll run with that. Because of time, thank you so much for joining us, sir. I'm not sure. Mr. Michael, I have a question. Don't worry, during our private session, you ask, Michael is part of Club 300. So you ask the question, you know, for every person who comes to this class, you have access to them as a Club 300 member. So don't worry, we'll discuss that later on, you know, and create a more proper class that will now elaborate on all those strategic aspects of our business. So, sir, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for being a father to us, especially we Christians in the marketplace. Thank you for being a visionary, you know, and I believe that this is just the beginning. Like I said, the world needs to hear your voice, and our generation needs to hear, our generation of Christians in the marketplace need to drink from your well. All right, and I believe that during the festival, wow, I mean, I'm so anticipating your session at the festival. It's going to be phenomenal. Can everyone please unmute yourself to just thank our guest tonight? Just unmute yourself to thank him. Thank him. Let's celebrate him. Let's all unmute. You can unmute yourself. Just thank him. Thank him. The Club 300. Sorry, thank him. The SBBG way.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
We
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
We are grateful.
Thank you, sir.
Love you,
Thank you so
sir.
much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, JA. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And you know, as you take your leave, because I know you just told us now you have another meeting by 7 o'clock at the TV station. Wow, that is a life that is driven by purpose. Trust me. So thank you so much, sir. As you take your leave, thank you so much. We can't wait to have you at the festival. We can't wait to have you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We love and celebrate you. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining the 8th edition of the School of Business Exploit. It's been an amazing journey from episode 1 to episode 8. We are also going to have an amazing guest next week. I will announce the guest during the week. He's also one of the speakers at the festival. We're having a speaker marathon in the month of September, and he's someone who is very, very deep, you know, in the subject of kingdom entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So he will be with us on Monday, and it will be another powerful session. This September is more about deep work, deep thinking, you know, and proper development for us as Christian entrepreneurs. Like I said, it's time for us to dive into the deep. It's time for us to start building solid businesses that generate wealth, not just in the peripheral level. And that's the goal for this platform. So I want to thank everyone for joining me every Monday night. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for trusting in this platform as your weekly resource center. And I can assure you that, you know, I will keep doing my best to ensure that, you know, I keep bringing in, you know, incredible facilitators to take us through every week session. All right, until we meet again next week, remember, we are counting down to the festival. We have less than 34 days to go. Please prepare yourself. It's going to be an amazing session, I can guarantee you. I mean, you heard Ashiru this evening. That's just one of the speakers. All the speakers have stories to share, and all the speakers have grace to impact us with. So please save that date. Invite as many people as you can. We have a big hall and a big space. Let's come together and fellowship as Christian entrepreneurs and business owner. Until we meet again next week, Monday, do have a beautiful and blessed week. All Club 300 members will meet on our WhatsApp platform, and we'll talk about our strategic plan for the month of September. All right. Have a beautiful night rest, and see you next week, Monday. God bless you all.